Hi, viewers. Today we are talking about properties. I know this is a very interesting topic because everybody wants to own a property.
Yes.
And yeah, in most cases, we don't really have a chance to do some research, to get to know a lot about what I need to know when I'm looking for a property, how am I going to get the financing, and everything that comes with being a property owner. Although yes, we all love to be property owners. So today I'm joined by Chilo. She's a very good friend of mine, and she's into real estate.
Yes.
So we've just asked her to come and give us all the information, the finer details that we need to know about properties, anything regarding properties.
Right.
And I'm just going to ask her to introduce herself to the viewers.
Good day, everyone. I am Chilo Nenguke. I am a property practitioner. I work with Remax Property Associates here in Bloberg. And I've been doing this for a while with rentals as well included, and I enjoy what I do, and I hope today will be helpful.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me, Pastor Emma.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. So I'll get right into it. So obvious, first things first. Yes, some of us, some people, not me, they will have cash to buy the properties.
Yes.
But what if I don't have the cash, Chilo? But I really want to buy a property.
Okay.
How does the financing of getting my bond? Who do I approach? I mean, who's the better option, the bank or any other finance houses that you'd recommend? If you can just take us through getting the financing part if I don't have cash to buy a property.
Yeah, no, that should never stop anyone from buying property, because actually the banks are looking for people, for potential buyers of property. So all the various banks, you'll find they are just ready and waiting.
Oh.
But for us, at Remax, we use Better Bond. We work very closely with Better Bond. But then we are also able to work with other mortgage brokers.
Okay.
Who are able
So it's not strictly like if I approach you guys, then you're not going to say, we can only help you if you're getting your bond through Better Bond.
No,
I can come in.
No, you can come and we can. If
my bank can be financing.
Yes, your bank could also finance, but it's nice to work with Better Bond.
Yes,
or
I was going to ask.
The ones that are affiliated with us, because then they all have all the different scenarios, right? Plus they check with all the different banks for you, so you don't have to run around. You see? Yeah, you don't have to run around from FNB to ABSA to look for a loan.
So they do that for me.
Yes, and then they get you the best rate and everything, and they do some of the negotiation as well, which is perfect. So it's stress-free, and they're very quick. There's a quick turnaround as well.
Yes, because it's their field.
Yes, you'll know within 24, 48 hours whether or not you have been pre-approved for a bond, which is perfect.
Interesting. Okay, so that's the part where where I'm eligible to get a loan via the bank, to get the bond via the bank. Let's say I'm a foreigner, I'm from Zim, Chilo.
Right.
And things can be very complicated getting this financing through. And I'm sure this is the part where most of us are, we want to know, as a foreigner, how do I do it?
Okay, so a foreigner is described in so many different ways, right? So now it will depend on your permit.
Yes.
So there are some permanent residents who are also classified as foreigners.
Okay.
Then you'll be treated basically like a South African
Okay,
citizen.
if I've got my PR.
Yes. Okay. Then you will get possibility of 100% bond. But then if you are maybe on a work permit, that might actually be different depending on your circumstances. Are you fully employed? and how long have you been here,
Yeah.
and they will check your credit. It's a bit more that's
But
involved.
it's still doable.
But still, you see, this is what I always say to people, because they say, but I've just got a permit.
Yes.
I say, no, you still need to try with whatever permit that you have, because you don't know.
You don't know
what will happen.
We can't just
until-
say just because I've got a permit, then I don't qualify.
Exactly. I think what's more important is, are you saving money?
Yes.
Are you budgeting? Are you building towards a good credit
Record, exactly.
So that will override even the permit situation, because then they will
Because the
look
bank
at
just wants
exactly.
their money back. I mean,
Yes,
you know, at
you
the end of
actually
the
have to
day.
be legal here. if
yeah,
you're
yeah,
living
yeah,
here,
of
but
course,
still,
yeah.
you know, it shouldn't be the main deterrent.
Okay,
Yes.
okay, all right. So how do I? Okay, so now I qualify and everything that you've said. How do I now start the journey of now, you know, owning this, looking or say the searching
Okay, so
part?
then they get back to us. Better Bond will say your client has been approved.
So that's the first thing before I even look for a property.
Yes.
Okay, I must
You'd
find
rather
out how
start-
much do I qualify.
It's better than just going
Yes.
blind and saying, I want a place.
I want a
two-bedroom."
5 million.
Exactly. So we always we always recommend that we get this financing, and sometimes we also for foreigners, because we didn't finish talking about that. There's that 50% cash that must
that you
happen
can
if you are
put-
foreign.
Okay.
So if you are living in Zimbabwe, or you're living in the UK or the US.
Oh, so there's that aspect of foreign. You're not even living in
Yes.
South Africa. Okay, so either I can then buy cash,
Yes.
or I can still
you
put
actually-
up
yeah.
50%.
Yes.
And then get a
And
half the
then-
bond.
Right, and then you get, but it's the
really?
other has to
Yeah.
be 50% cash that
Yes.
is brought into South Africa.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you can get a bond. You go through the same process.
Mm-hmm.
Better Bond or any of the mortgage brokers, they
Yes.
will then be able to just the way we do it here.
Yeah, exactly.
They'll be able to tell you how much based on your income there in the
Yes,
US or whatever,
yes.
what you can afford to buy
Okay,
here.
all right.
And then the rest you'll have to bring in cash. So the
Cash.
cash part is where we use Currencies Direct.
Okay.
Yeah,
that was my next question.
Yes.
How do I bring in the cash to South Africa?
They will help you to bring that cash into South Africa. So they'll
that's
also work on the rates
interesting.
with the different banks. It's such an easy process, because once you get
So
in,
I don't even have to worry about
No, you
how
don't
am
have
I
to
now
run
going to bring the
around.
this cash, this 50% cash.
no, if it's possible, if everything is, of
Yeah,
course, we're dealing
because
with.
you know, I've always thought now if I'm to bring this 50%
Yeah.
cash, now you know the bank is going to be flagging me for maybe drug money.
Oh no,
or
Currencies
everything.
Direct will help with all of that.
I'm like, oh my word, I just wanted to buy a house and now yes, I'm under investigation. Like, where
Right.
did you get this money
They
from?
will check
So that
things.
is
There's
very,
checks.
yeah,
There's,
okay, all right.
Yeah, SARS will check. They will
Yes.
do. You just have to be a person
Patient
who's,
also,
Yeah, they will check
'cause
where you're getting the money,
Money
from.
Yeah,
so
no,
that
I
it's
know
not
the SARS
fraudulent.
part.
You know the story.
Exactly. That's why I'm saying, at least then I've got SARS on my case. Now I'm being investigated. Where is she getting this money
but
from?
this
Okay.
happens very quickly, Emma. You
Okay.
know, Better Bond is working, Currencies
Is
Direct
working,
is working at the
and
same
like
time.
again, these are professionals, so they know, what to. It's not like you on your own, and you're messing things up.
Yes.
Yes.
And in a very short time, you'll be able to
Wow.
find out whether you can or you can't.
Okay.
But I always say to people, it's worth the try. You
of
never know. You
course,
can
you
never
never
shortchange
know.
yourself and say, I don't
Exactly.
have enough money, or I don't have, there's always a
Yes,
start.
there's always a start. Okay, all right. So we've covered the foreign part. Now to my
Yes,
question.
now,
Now how do? Now I've got my
Now
monies
you've got
in
your
order.
monies in order. Now,
Now
you've
I'm-
got the bond. Now we
Yes.
can look for
Yes.
the perfect property for you.
Yes.
Yes.
So okay, at this stage, of course, I know you're in estate agent.
Yes.
But I want to know the advantage of now, using Chido as opposed to me just randomly, looking for property, just getting, property day by property 24, and I'm doing my own thing.
Alright,
So what
yes.
is the advantage of having Chido?
Well,
then?
if you go to Chido, right, you're going to then work Remax, as we work as a team within Remax.
Yes,
And
okay.
we've got top agents from all across the country, even locally, especially in this Bloberg area, we are the best.
What can you say?
So our top agents, we are bound to have a property for you. So we start there, and all you have to do, now we have the budget. We know
Yes, now we
how
have the
much. Yeah,
budget.
we know your requirements. You tell us exactly what you're looking for and
Yeah,
what
but
you
that's
want
the
to use the
problem,
property
Chido.
for.
I might want things that I cannot afford, you see. So I
Like?
still have to, like I want to, how Zimbabweans, we want big yards, but we can afford them.
Yes, that's why
Houses
we
with big
give
yards.
excellent advice as well about location. Sometimes you
Yes,
don't know
I
where
was going to talk
start.
about location as well. So how important is location? Location. Because I've heard people have bought properties in like years back.
Yes.
And for some reason, due to the location, those houses, they've devalued,
Yes.
Because now,
Well,
the location was
It
not
depends
just
also
right.
what do you want to do with this property.
Oh,
Do you
okay.
want to develop into, you can buy like a stand and you want to build your own home, or maybe you want an Airbnb situation. You don't want to live in the property, you're just using it for
Yes.
property investment, and
Yes.
or maybe you want to live in the property, or you want to go into student accommodation. So it will all depend. And then once you tell us exactly what you're
What
looking
you-
to do,
exactly.
then we'll be able to make suggestions. And then we look at the different the areas
Yes.
within Cape Town. We have people in Joburg
Yes,
that we
of
work to.
course.
So you
They
just
can
have to
also-
work through us, and then anywhere in South Africa, we would be
then
able
you
to
guys will then
to help. Yes, then we're
I'm
able
with
to
you.
tell you like, okay, this area is better for you because of A, B, C, D.
Okay, all right. So you do so now once you've located what I sort of want, then is this the part where I then start viewing the property?
Yes, and I will take you around and you will have a look at the different properties.
Yes.
And then there's also price negotiations that we
Yes,
do
yes.
with the sellers, And then after that, hopefully we find the right fit,
Okay, all
and
right.
the right price with the right seller, the right location. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm assuming this is now coming, like the market analysis.
Yes.
You guys also do that as well?
Yes, for
Okay.
the sellers, right?
Yes, for the sellers
So,
now.
so yeah, if you're a homeowner.
Yes, and now
Yeah.
I've decided to sell my property.
Right. We love to, it's always a good idea to periodically find out what is the value of
my
your
property.
because you
Okay.
would be surprised. Some people sit with properties for many, many years and they don't know that the market has changed. They're actually able to get a lot more.
money
Maybe you bought it at 800,000 rands, for instance. Now you might find it's 3.2 million.
Yes.
And all your children are grown and you
Yes,
don't
and you need to
actually-
downsize.
Yes, you don't need that much space. You don't need that much
Yes.
responsibility and all of that. So now you go smaller. you
Okay,
know?
all right.
Or-
So if I now want to sell my property, right?
Yes.
It's more or less the same. Do you guys now find the buyer for me?
Yes,
Okay.
then we've also got
You do
like
the advertising.
we do everything. We do the marketing,
Uh-huh.
and we help you. We do price counseling as well.
Okay.
See, because sometimes you can be
Sometimes we think our properties are worth 7
exactly.
million.
We speak to you, and
And then
sometimes
comes
you
and
want
say, no,
5
no, no,
million,
no,
yeah, for
yes.
your property. But then, that's why we do the market analysis. Basically, what it
Okay.
is just to show you what has been happening in the neighborhood.
I
What has been
see.
selling in that
Yes,
area,
how
and at
much.
what, and then that's also comparing it with properties that are exactly like yours
Yes.
or at least similar.
Yeah,
Then
yeah.
you'll have a rough idea of exactly.
Yes,
Yeah.
and because sometimes, yes, I've done some improvements on my property, so
Yes.
you guys would take that
Yes,
into
and we
account.
take that into account as well. But sometimes, the neighborhood is just not, maybe it's depreciating, or so you might not, that's why
Yes, although my house might be valued at a better, if it was in a better location than where it is.
exactly,
then I can
location might
again-
also limit
Okay,
the
all
amount
right.
that you could get.
Okay, so what are the requirements when I'm selling my property?
Okay, well, we need to be able to also make sure that it is your property.
I think that's a big one.
Yes, so, and
In case I'm selling my...
yes, are you an owner? Are you the true owner? So there's FICA. There's FICA requirements.
There's FICA requirements.
Yes, so
so you guys now talk to the... What department is it? The ones who register the properties.
Yes,
The
the
deeds
deeds office.
Yes.
Yeah, but no, basically all we do is just require certain documents from you, like your ID and then proof of residence.
Are you the rightful owner?
Are you the owner? Yes.
Okay.
So,
So whilst we are there,
Yeah.
what if it's a divorce case?
Yes.
How does that work?
okay, so that also depends how far in the process is this divorce. Is
Okay.
it like is it happened? Is it a separation? Is it, because we find there's also different stages.
There's different stages. Yeah, I'm sure on separation stage, then you can't really, I don't know, I wouldn't
No, it
recommend
has to
selling
first,
a property.
it has to first go through the deeds office.
Okay,
The names have to change,
Change.
but that doesn't stop you from actually selling now.
No,
right?
okay,
Because
okay.
remember the transfer process was about 3
Yes,
months. So whatever we
yes,
can
it's
get
long.
covered within the 3 months,
Then you can do that.
But then
stuff.
we still check.
Okay.
Were you married to this person? Are you really getting divorced? You would need to provide paperwork in order for us to see exactly what the status.
Okay, all right. So now, so obviously I've bought a property and I want the price to increase. What are some of the tips that you can give us on how we can just maintain our properties so
Okay.
that
So-
it doesn't devalue? Okay, I know there's some factors that we have no control over. Like if the location is just bad, it is just bad. But let's say I'm in a good location, but still, my property is not,
Yeah.
It's still
Great
outdated.
question.
Because I've seen some of these properties, when you go on the air,
Oh
like,
my
this is a
gosh.
good suburb. I can't believe there's even a house like that. It's so old and it's not
Yes.
modern. So what are some of the tips that will, increase the value of my property?
So what I always encourage is like a continuous process of maintaining your home.
Okay.
So as soon as you get the property, don't ever slack on
Yeah,
taking care of
yes.
it. Because things like roof leaks, as soon
Yes.
as you see that there's a crack on the roof,
Then rather...
yes, don't wait
repair-
until the whole roof, because
Yes.
then you will have problems.
be expensive as
Eventually
well.
it'll be too much for you to work on,
Yes.
and you have to actually tackle the problem straight on. If you have like a kitchen door, the hinges have come off. Don't wait
Yes.
until all the hinges have come. We do
Yes,
find
and I'll say I'll just do a revamp.
exactly. So as you go, paint where you need
Yeah,
to paint,
you're right.
clean the drains, things like that are going to come up. Where and it's like that with any property, but it's just getting on top of it
Yeah.
at the moment that it happens.
Yes.
Then when it's time to sell the property,
Then you don't have to do
you
much.
don't have things like electric fences falling over that you are
Yes.
going to have to account for. So when we're selling, there's a part where you have a defects list that you actually have to provide to the buyer, to the purchase of the property.
I see.
So you have to disclose every single thing in your
Everything.
home.
See, which is, I think, the good thing now about dealing with an agent.
Exactly,
Because
yes.
yes, one-on-one, I don't think someone will give me that list of
No.
benefits. They're just
That's
asking
the
for their
problem.
money.
Yes, we have
Yes.
forms and everything. We have procedures that must happen before,
Yes.
and so we make sure all the sellers give us all of that. It's mandatory. You
Yes.
have to give that to us, and then the buyer has to check to make sure that they're happy with that.
Yes.
Then there's an agreement on whether or not I'm going to fix that roof.
Yes,
you know?
before selling it.
Yes.
Or I'm
going
to take that into account that
Yes,
you
and
still
it's
have
also
to.
signed on. Both parties will sign to
I
say
see.
the roof is going to be taken care of, but the stove is not going to be taken
I
care
see.
of. So that when the property is transferred, there are no problems.
Yes.
To say,
you don't want
okay,
surprises.
Yes, and then we
Yes.
also do things like, is this stove going to stay? Because can you believe it, Emma? Some people will take their stove, but then.
But I'm thinking, yes, I'm thinking the stove is there now when I'm moving
Exactly.
in. The
So
stove
then
is
it's
gone.
not there. And so we have to say, you have to declare, if you want to take your stove as a seller, please just mention that this stove is not staying. Then the buyer, purchaser is, they are aware and there are no surprises.
Yes.
So.
My concern though, Chido, when it comes to property is the plumbing. How do I check that?
It's good to have a plumber come in. You always know though when there's a problem.
But Chido, when I'm just viewing, I don't know if there's some leaks
you mean
in
the
these toilets
purchaser,
are
the
blocked
buyer.
or they
The
wait for
buyer.
2 hours. And
Well,
then the
this
next
is where we
thing
come in as an agent,
Yeah,
we make sure we find
exactly.
out everything there is to know about
so
that
they
property.
check the plumbing, the electricity.
Exactly, and also
Yes, 'cause you need to know that.
before the property, there's also a BETL certificate, because before the
Oh,
transfer
yes, I know about
happens
the
and an
BETL
electrical
certificate.
certificate. So even when you want to hide, there are certain things you cannot hide. Because we want to make sure by the time they have it in their hands,
Yes.
you are
At least you're aware of everything, all the work that's going to be required.
Exactly. We want this purchaser to know, because you can be held liable. The agent can also be held liable for not bringing all of that
into account. Okay, all right. So I'm just going to jump in now from my tax consultancy knowledge.
Yes.
Just for the viewers' sake.
Yes.
When you're selling now your property. So there is CGT. Capital gains tax. So there's no tax.
That's important.
So there's no tax when you buy. For the buyer, there are no tax implications. So don't worry when you're buying a property. There are no tax implications. Of course, I think you guys still ask for the tax number.
Yes, we ask for all of your
yes,
SARS
and
details.
yes, your
When
SARS.
we're
So
doing
are
the
you
FICA,
compliant? Yes, exactly. Yes. So you have
we
to.
FICA both the sellers and the buyers.
Yes, exactly. So now for the seller's part, I just want to talk about CGT capital gains tax. So what happens is SARS will take into account how much you bought the property for. That's going to be your base cost. But to the base cost, which is why it's very important, like what Chido was mentioning, that you need to keep your property well maintained, if you can upgrade it, because to the base cost, SARS will also add the improvements that you've done.
Yes.
But these improvements should be, I need to emphasize, should be of capital nature.
Yes.
When we say capital nature, so there are repairs and maintenance to a property. Repairs and maintenance is like what Chido was saying, you need to paint there, you need to replace a door in the kitchen,
Yes.
that is falling apart. Those are repairs and maintenance. So these do not increase the value of the property. So there are things now of capital nature, which maybe now I need to put a pool, outside.
Yes.
Or I'm going to now put solar panels, that then increases the value of the property. So that then is added to your base cost. And then we are going to say the proceeds, what you get from selling the property, we will then, SARS will then say, okay, so this is what you got for the property, but this is how much you bought the property, your base cost, any improvements that you've done to the property. So you need to keep records for all the years, so that it can. The idea is to increase your base cost, right? And then you're gonna also take into account Chido's commission. Obviously, Chido doesn't do all this for nothing; she must get a commission. But SARS allows you to also deduct Chido's commission from that, and obviously for the BETL certificate, then you can deduct that. That's your gain tax-wise, the difference now. So that's the gain that you've made. But on that gain, only 40% of that gain is, well, actually, what they do is on that gain, the first 40,000 is tax-free. So on the net gain now, only 40% of that amount is taxable. So that's what's get added to your salary or any other income. And so that's how tax is calculated. So that's your capital. That's
Yes,
as
it's
a
important to know
seller.
those
Yes.
costs
So as a
as well.
seller, tax-wise, that's what you're looking at. So now I'm going to go back to Chido, and we're going to talk about, now I've got my property.
Yes.
But, oh, sorry, before I move to that one, so there are two things concerning the capital gains tax when it comes to selling your property. So there's primary residence. So primary residence, the first 2 million that you make off the gain, that gain, remember, proceeds less your base cost, the first 2 million is tax-free. So you don't pay,
Yes.
in most cases, when you're selling your primary residence, you do not pay any tax. But it's mostly when you've been renting out the property, so you haven't been staying there, so there is going to be some capital gains
Right.
tax there. So at least with your primary residence, the first 2.5 is, it's now 2.5 million. It's tax-free. So now I've got my property,
Yes.
Chido, but it's not my primary residence.
Right.
I'm going to be renting out this, either renting it out or nowadays Airbnb it.
Right.
Yes. So what are the advantages of getting you to handle that part for me? Than me thinking I'm going to save my cost and I'm not going to have an agent.
Well, basically, we are intermediaries, right? We are the
Yes.
go-betweens. So it's important for this relationship to work and for
Yes.
everybody's rights to be considered.
Yes.
So that's where we come in to make sure that, let's say the tenant decides not to pay you rent.
Yes,
for
that's the
instance.
part. Because I hear now is you need to correct me or you need to make it very clear to us. Because tenants, they've got this thing that they can go for 6 months without paying any rents and they're still okay. Somehow they're protected by the law. So they're really abusing that. I don't know that
Yes,
if
there
that
are some.
loophole is still
Yes.
there or if it's now been closed. How does that
Well,
work?
look, it only takes long because the procedure is long
So
for
it's more
landlords.
taking advantage of the long procedure.
Exactly,
to
but
evict.
eventually you can evict a tenant who is not paying, but it does take sometimes even more than that, depending on how quickly you can get to it. So, for instance, sometimes the landlords are too nice, right?
So it starts by me understanding that
you're trying to understand for
that
too
how-
long. And the time is going, right?
Yes, and
and
before you
then
know it,
you're
in
understanding
6
for
months,
3.
and now the person who can afford 1 month, how are they going to afford 6 months?
Exactly. By the time you get to 4 months already, they owe you so much, and the chances that you're going to get that money back are very
Literally.
they're getting slimmer as the months go by.
Yeah.
So the recommendation is, as soon as you can see this is a difficult tenant, we have spoken to them. You have to remember it's a business relationship,
Yes.
and
It's not like personal.
exactly. Otherwise, you will make a loss. So it's quickly getting into the process and letting
Yes.
this tenant know you're already in the process. Sometimes just an email to say I'm taking it further actually
Yes.
gets this tenant to shape up and give you.
Yes.
And then maybe just listening to them. What is the problem at the moment?
Because sometimes some problems are genuine.
Exactly, and seeing whether it's a long-term problem or is it a short-term problem, maybe.
But that's you now doing that part here for me. If you are my
Exactly.
estate agent.
This is why you need
Okay.
us to. Then you
Okay.
don't have to deal with it. We give
Yes.
feedback and then we tell you
Yes.
what's going on.
Yes.
It's still up to you what you want to do, and but we
Okay.
always giving advice,
Okay.
And in terms of the law, we have a great Deabro and Cohen is who we use
Yes.
for our attorneys.
Okay.
And so when anything comes up, let's say it's been damaged, there's so many things that can happen with the
Yes,
tenant. Or it's time to evict, they are the ones who help us with that.
Okay, all right. So if I have you, Chido, as my estate agent, because
Yes.
sometimes, tenants, they ruin properties. So he's paying his rent
Yes.
on time, clockwise. But now, when they move out, then, oh my goodness, when I get to that property, I can't even recognize it. So, does having an estate agent to run, this rental property, do you guys do checks?
Yes.
They must just know that, in
It's
agent
always
interest.
also stipulated in a lease agreement. It's always good to have it there
Okay.
highlighted to say how often the agent can come through and see the property.
Yes,
Then that's where we can see, there's a situation here.
Yes, yeah. Then at least, because I'm not staying in that property, so at least you guys can see that, okay, no, we need to paint there, that cupboard is damaged. Then I can do that.
Exactly. And then also the lease agreement is what stipulates who is going to fix what, when what happens and things like that. So that also highlights the importance of that lease agreement as well.
Okay.
It has to be a watertight. I know these days we have people who are just creating lease agreements, but you have to make sure you actually
I can just go Google can create one.
But make sure you're working with lawyers who are actually able to make sure that it's foolproof.
Yes, it's foolproof. Okay,
Yes.
all right. So that's a normal rental property. Are there specific procedures when I want to Airbnb my property?
That one is very subject to like the area.
Okay.
There are some properties that you can't Airbnb.
Is it?
Yes, yeah, some neighborhoods and some
Really?
estates, yes, where Airbnb is not allowed.
Why?
So, well, for different
Security
reasons. Yes,
reasons.
yeah. So,
because there are different people just coming in.
yeah. So, what the best approach is just to find a property, and then we find out for you whether you can actually
I in future Airbnb?
it, because you might not be able to because of some restriction in
Yes,
that area or
in
the
that
property
area.
or body
Okay.
corporate or
Yes,
things like that.
yes,
So
okay.
that's the first thing, is to check. Then once you get the property that allows you to, then it's a great idea to see how you can start. We don't actually manage Airbnb, as you know. Airbnb manages, but
Yes.
we
yes.
definitely
it's
give
ve-
recommendations.
I see. But it's also recommended to use Airbnb, not doing it privately.
Yes.
When I want to, because people always think it's cutting costs, but I think there's a bigger
No,
cost
because
to it.
there's things like a person
check
can
up.
come in one night
Yes.
and destroy your sofas. How are you going to take them on? But when you've got Airbnb, right, then they actually have insurance. And you can claim
for
from
such
Airbnb for things like that.
Ah,
So
with
that's
you.
basically their client in a way, because they vet everyone who comes onto the platform
Yes.
to Airbnb. They are
Okay.
vetted by Airbnb.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
So again, I'm going to jump in tax-wise
Yes.
regarding your rental property or your Airbnb. It's exactly one and the same thing.
Okay.
So when you've got a rental property, obviously you need to declare the rental income that you're receiving to the receiver
Yes.
of revenue.
Yes.
However, there are some expenses that you're allowed to deduct from the rental income that you
Yes.
get. So for the first 5 years, you still have a high bond. So you are claiming your interest, guys, not the full bond repayment, but the interest portion being charged on the bond. So your bank will give you that specific interest on the bond tax certificate. So you can now claim. So you're declaring the rental income or the Airbnb income that you're getting. Then you can claim your interest on the bond portion, obvious for the tax year. And remember, the tax year runs from March to February, not January to December. Then you can claim your rates if you're the one paying for the rates. You can claim your levies if you're the one paying for the levies, because I do know some disagreements. They say the tenant will be paying the water and the
Yes,
rates. So
yeah.
you must not claim what you are not paying
Yes.
as the owner of the property.
Right.
And you can claim your repairs and maintenance.
Yeah.
Again, repairs and maintenance. Remember, like I mentioned when I was talking about capital gains tax, it's only strictly repairs and maintenance, nothing that increases the value of the property.
Yes.
So it's your geyser has burst, it's fixing the stove, the painting. Yes, you can claim that.
Yeah.
Yes, and then let's say, because chances are the first 5 years you're going to be making a rental loss,
Right.
which is a good thing tax-wise. So you've got two options. You can tell SARS that, SARS, keep record of my losses. They call it ring fencing your losses, right? Because in the long run, you're going to start making a profit. So what they will now do is they will now start, deducting those losses. They've kept a record of it. Then you don't have to pay much tax. But if you want to get a good refund, then you've got an option to say, no, I don't want you to ring fence my loss. I want you to take it into account on my assessment. So what they would do is now, let's say I'm an employee, right, at my workplace, but I've got my investment property. So what they will now do is they will say the loss now, and it will reduce your salary. So that's how you get a refund, because your salary has been taxed, like on the full amount.
Yes.
But now when you're completing your tax return, now you are claiming that loss. So then you get a refund. Of course, I would recommend you keep that refund and not spend it, because in the long run, you are definitely going to start making profits.
Yes.
And you're going to be having shortfalls.
Yeah.
Tax shortfalls.
I love that you're talking about the long run. Because that's what the property is all about.
Yes, it's an investment. So
yes,
that's
it's
what
an
we're
investment.
looking at.
So it will start off, it won't start off immediately, take off.
Yes,
You will
exactly. In the
slowly
long
get
run,
yes, because you're
exactly.
building equity as you go. That's why
Exactly.
we didn't talk about why, for those who are renting, it's really a good idea to assess whether you can actually buy instead of
And
rent.
you're always given the first priority, right? When you're renting a property,
Exactly.
now you need to...
But just to stop paying rent.
Oh,
Why?
yes, because you're paying somebody's
Yes,
bond.
yeah.
You're paying somebody's bond when you're
Exactly.
paying
If you can
rent.
afford on a monthly basis to pay that 12,000 or
Thousand
whatever,
something.
you are probably eligible for buying
For
your
buying
own
your
property.
own, even if
Yeah.
it's a small property. I think the other problem is people just want to go big or go home with these
Right,
properties.
exactly.
But you might as well get your one. If it's a 1-bedroom, if it's a 2-bedroom, it's your
Yes.
own property, and you're paying for your own
Exactly. You're
property,
building
not
equity.
renting a 5-bedroom house.
It provides you legacy. When you have a
Exactly.
property, you can leave it to your kids. You can,
exactly.
It gives you so
I would
many
also,
options.
tax-wise, I would also recommend, if it's a long-term investment, put it in a trust.
Yes.
It also saves you tax-wise.
Right.
And then, then one child cannot abuse the property, then it stays in the trust. You put a clause there
Exactly.
that this property must never be sold. It must be
Right.
passed on from generation to generation.
Exactly.
So property
And with the
is
way
a
things
very
are
good
happening in
way.
the world, why not secure a
Exactly.
future for your
For your
grandchildren?
children. Yes.
Yeah,
I
and
think, especially us, as black people, we need to start doing that.
I know, right? Why should granddad have to have been paying rent and stuff, and then you have nowhere to start? At least if
Exactly.
granddad
That's
left
what
us
we
a
must
piece of
look at.
land or
Imagine if
a home.
our parents had left properties for
Exactly.
us. And you can also do this all over the world. You're
Yes.
not just restricted
Right,
in
and-
one country. Like Chido was saying, that you can, even if you stay in Zim, you can
You
still buy
can
your
still
property.
buy
You
property.
can bring your 50%, or you can buy it cash.
Exactly.
So yes, you can invest
Zimbabweans are actually the highest when it comes to buying
properties.
property
I'm happy
across
that
the continent.
Yes, yes.
Even when
but it's
compared to the
us who are
English.
living, let's say in SH,
Yeah.
that we now want to rent a house for 30,000 rands.
Yeah.
Not really, and you don't own that house.
Yes.
Yeah,
You
why
have
not
you
buy
are making
your
a
own-
loss. You're building up somebody else's legacy. and
Exactly. Okay.
stability, yeah.
All right. Is there anything else, Sheila, that you think?
I just
we
want to
can
get to that
cover?
point because I feel like a lot of people are afraid to start with
Yes.
this property.
I think it's this
investment.
thing that, I'm a foreigner. To just start with. So
Yes.
then your mind does not even go further than that.
Yes.
So that's why, really, to be honest, that's why I decided to bring you to the show. Because people just think just because I'm a foreigner, then there's nothing beyond that.
Right. I think we just need to get over the fear and just do that pre-assessment make those services, those.
And contact people like Chido. 'Cause
Yes,
I
thank
know
you.
as our Zim community, people have got a thing of asking so and so. Then
Yes.
so and so would just say, no, you can't get it. But there was a reason why they couldn't get it.
Right.
And that's
Also,
not your reason.
when it's too cheap, when the rates are too cheap, or you've got an agent, you don't really know which company they're working with.
Yes.
You might also run into a lot of legal issues.
Yes.
So it's good to just go with brands that are well known, that have been doing this for a long time,
Yes.
and agents also who are trustworthy, who you can actually check online. Because that's another thing I
That's
hear that
another
is
thing.
happening, especially in Bloberg.
Is
Some
it?
of these agents are not
Even
actually agents.
registered.
Yeah.
People
They
are
do
just
not-
scamming,
they're not, yes.
left, right, and center.
So it's good to just check and work with the right people, but start buying property. You know,
Yes.
start.
So I'm thinking, can I now come to you guys, Chido,
Yes.
and say, look, this is my status. I'm a foreigner. I don't really know. Do I qualify? Can you guys do this for me?
Yes.
Is there a fee for that? for you?
No, we do everything. Yeah,
Really?
even for the market analysis, we do a free. Yeah, we can come
Really?
to your
Guys,
house.
there
and
you have it. At least
Yeah.
try it and say, I did try and it didn't work.
Exactly.
Yes,
Just
don't
try
just say,
and also
I-
we help you
it's
to
not-
see, okay, how can I get to that?
Yes,
you know?
how can I get to that?
It's
How
better
can,
than
I
not
get, how
start.
can I get to the requirement?
Exactly. Doesn't mean even matter how young you are or how old you
Yeah.
are. You can start it today, and just say, okay, all right, maybe I don't qualify now. But what can
do
I
do? Yes, to get there.
Within
Exactly.
6 months, because we look for 6 months if you're self-employed, 6 months bank statements, and 3 months if you are employed. So within like a year, you should be able to fix up your financial situation, pay off some debt. That's if you're serious.
Yes.
You want to be serious about life, right?
That's true. That's true. And we need to be serious about these things.
And start making money.
Yes. Especially, I'm really, ending, having an inheritance, something to pass down to the
Exactly.
kids.
Yeah,
That we
that is
can't
so
all
important.
start this process when our, maybe my dad could have started that process and there's a property and then I can own it and I can pass it down. And sometimes the way that I also understand it is if you've got a property already, the banks do consider that,
Yes.
that you've paid up, this
Exactly,
bond.
right,
So,
yeah.
you're a good customer. So, yeah, it's a good record.
Yeah,
for
because
you.
there's subject to sale of my property.
Yes,
So you can
exactly.
start looking for another house while you're trying to sell your
Sell
property.
my
Yeah.
property, exactly.
So it's just good to get into the game early, even when you're young, especially
So
for
don't
those living in
think
the Western
I'm too
Cape.
young. Yes. I
Yes.
think that's the other thing. Don't
It's a
wait
good
until
option.
you get married, guys. Start
Yes,
now.
girls, young girls.
Young girls, girl power.
Girl power, instead of
Yes.
focusing on the wrong things, they could be focusing on building their equity, their savings, and making sure their credit is,
Yes.
and then you will get into the
Exactly,
game and be able to
exactly.
also own a property. It's actually
Yes.
amazing. We see a lot of young buyers.
Yes. You can
and-
start by your one bedroom, flat, bed
Exactly.
sitter.
Yes.
That's something, yes.
Right, yeah.
Exactly.
And,
just make sure then you get a wise husband or man who doesn't know.
And again, you'd be
Come
able
and
to
say,
predict-
let's sell this house. And spend the money.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Anything else that you...
No, that's it. Just get over the fear. I like to talk about that fear part
Okay.
a lot because a lot
Oh,
of people
yes,
are just
it's a fear.
afraid.
Yes, they're really
to say,
afraid.
or they're worried about their paper situation,
Yes,
or
but just go to the right people.
just check.
Yes, just
Yeah.
check. We're going to put Chido's details in the link and then, you can contact her and she can help you. Thank you so
Yes.
much, Chido.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks
Thank you,
for having me.
viewers.
All
Okay.
right.
Crazy.